morning about the winners of this year's Academy Awards, and now we put a Hollywood spin on the unknown stories of Western New York.
Paul Newman was one of the biggest actors in the world, and as Daybreak's Pete Gallivan tells us, during his glory years, the star of such films as Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid and The Color of Money apparently turned to the tranquility of Chautauqua County when he wanted to unwind.
On this day after the Oscars, there is some folklore that we're tracking down involving this Oscar winner and his connections to Western New York.
Paul Newman's house on Lake Erie is absolutely gorgeous.
That's right, Paul Newman's house. Buffalo Councilman Dave Franczyk and his wife own a cottage nearby in Dunkirk and say they've heard from neighbors for many years that the movie star spent many summers in this house in the town of Portland, something that town officials have also heard but have trouble verifying. But Franczyk says a friend's daughter got a pretty good indication when she was studying at the Chautauqua Institution and was invited to lunch by a friend.
Oh, we're going to have lunch with my parents and you can join us. And she said, okay, fine. And in walk in Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward, his wife. And she's like dumbfounded. Those are your parents? She goes, yeah. She didn't make any big deal of it at all.
In my search for further proof, I came across real estate agent Ed Miller, who wrote, "Folklore has it Paul Newman, the actor, used to cottage at this estate." Right there in the listing when the property recently came up for sale. Turns out the reason he knows that is because he once owned the Route 5 waterfront home.
Shortly after I bought it, I had a well go detective, and I contacted the well company, and they didn't know the address. And I had mentioned to them that I was told that I bought Paul Newman estate. And Mr. Empty, which is Empty Well, said, yeah, I know exactly where you're at.
He says neighbors have told him that they saw Newman coming and going and that the actor's daughter studied at the institution. But they also told him that Newman came for another passion.
Paul Newman used to hang out there when he was racing at Watkins Glenn.
And he loved Chautauqua County. He loved the Chautauqua Institution. And I've heard stories from folks there that he would be in coffee shops and people would see him in the, walking in the community.
Just standing right here.
One of those people, Tim Jacobson, who used to work as a clerk here at Lighthouse Point Grocery.
And he walked in the front door there and it hit me right off the bat who he was.
Tim says because of the proximity to the institution, they would get celebrities stopping by from time to time at this Mayville mainstay. But after all, this was Paul Newman.
And I had to tell the cashier who he was. I said, that's Paul Newman.
He did his shopping and then had a special request.
That was back in the early days of the oven, and we used to cook almost 100% just chickens in it before we did any other cooking. And he wanted a beef roast cooked, and I told him no, we couldn't do it. Looking back now, I wish I'd have cooked that roast beef for him.
Just the same, how many summers he spent here, and if you ever found someone to roast that beef for him, well, that's yet another chapter of the unknown stories of Western New York.